Today's video is all about my personal favourite vegan documentaries. There are loads out there, but I picked my favourites. Now, I have rewatched some of these over the past 2-ish weeks. I haven't rewatched all of the documentaries I'm going to talk about, and I will explain why later. I have put them into 4 groups. I put them into ones about health, the environment, animals, and a general veganism message. And I'll speak about each group and what documentaries I've put into what group. In saying that, they do all intertwine with each other. The vegan diet is good for the health, good for the animals' health and lives, good for the environment. It's good for everything. So they all do intertwine, but I've just basically put the main focus of what I think the documentary is and placed them into those groups. So we'll move on to the health documentaries first, and the first one on my list is actually my favourite documentary out of them all, and it's What the Health. You can watch it on Netflix. Basically, What the Health is my favourite is because my master's degree is in obesity and weight management, so this is my area. This is what I did for a long time. The animal advocacy throughout this documentary is so adamant, and I admire that hugely. They obviously care about the animals. And they're just getting the message of health across, as well as for the lives of the animals. This documentary really makes you take a step back, and it shines a light on the corruption that's through the food industry, and it makes you think about what you're eating more than what you were doing before. This really makes you think about where you're getting your information from. There is so much conflict of interest throughout the whole industry, throughout different organisations, and this documentary shines a light on that. It really showed the corruption that happens between these big corporate companies and the government and different charities and different organisations like that. It did such a good job of shining a light on those issues. Now, this documentary did very much focus on health and how a plant-based diet is the best diet for health, and while I absolutely agree with that, I do think that the plant-based diet is the healthiest diet out there for people, especially in the Western world. I did feel uncomfortable when they brought people in, like the lady who had cancer and said that she just turned to a plant-based diet, didn't do the chemotherapy, and it got rid of the cancer. The diabetes, that is a more believable one, but there's just so much propaganda around this. I felt uncomfortable bringing that in because I personally do, and there's so much research out there, believe in most of modern medicine. Like, we are living longer partly because of modern medicine. I do believe in some cases that probably would help cancer, and I've researched that into that myself as well in the past, but I believe in the majority of cases go for chemo. I don't like that they were advocating that a plant-based diet can cure every single type of disease out there. It does also shine a light on the human rights aspect of the meat and dairy industry, not just the animal lives but the human lives impacted by it as well. There was the whole scene about the community, the black community that lived right by the hog farm in one of the states. I can't remember which state it was now, but they suffered tremendously from having the hog farm so close to them with all the manure that came out of the hog farm, and it ruined their lives completely. So it does also shine a light on that as well. Now, I do just want to say that I absolutely love this documentary. It is my favourite documentary. I've said that already, but there are a few issues that I have with it. I've already spoken about the plant-based diet fixing every single disease out there, but also I want to say that they churn so much data at us and so much research and so many studies at us that it's hard to keep up. But if you do look into the studies, they are cherry picking the data, which happens in every single aspect of science. I did that for both of my degrees, and that's what happens within research. You look for what you want to hear and you only talk about that. You don't talk about, oh, this has happened. It's just this bit that you want to talk about that you talk about. So just keep that in mind as you're watching this documentary, that the data is absolutely cherry picked. He also correlates things together that he doesn't talk about the rest. So again, it's going to that cherry picking of the data. He talks about the levels of hip fractures goes up with the amount of milk or dairy that you consume. There are so many other factors that go into that. It can't just be from the milk consumption. There's got to be other things in it. They also make out that every single health condition, every single disease, every single illness, every single whatever is making you ill can be fixed on a plant-based diet. And I know that the majority of the health conditions that are killing us are preventable diseases which are caused by diet, but you can't put everything down to a plant-based diet, especially now with the fact that there are so much vegan alternatives like fake meats out there and so much vegan junk food out there, that you saying to somebody that them being on a plant-based or vegan diet is going to fix all their illnesses, if you don't explain to them what they should be eating and when they should be eating and how they should be eating, it's not going to help, because they're going to just go to the shop and say, oh, I really fancy sausages and a barbecue today. They're going to buy the vegan sausages, which have basically no nutritional value in them whatsoever. So they tell you that a plant-based diet is the best, and they do talk about veg, but they don't talk about the fact that there's so many processed foods out there that you shouldn't really be eating, because they're just going to have the same impact as meats themselves. Don't get me wrong, I love me some fake meats. I do, I love it. I had fake meats yesterday. We had the brownest, beigest tea yesterday of chips and chicken nuggets just because I craved it. Like, it's okay to have it all in moderation, but you just got to realise that a plant-based diet is all well and good if executed properly. The next one I'm going to talk about is The Game Changers, which is, apart from Seaspiracy, it's the newest, biggest vegan documentary out there. It was produced by James Cameron, and I just want to say that there is conflict of interest within this documentary. He owns his own pea protein company, so his own vegan protein. I am not mad at that. I don't care. Like, if he wants to make some extra money by doing this, then sure, go ahead. He's saving the animals, he's saving the world. You make some money while you're doing it. Why not? This one doesn't really talk about preventing diseases like What the Health does. This shows that you can thrive on a vegan diet, and it does talk about more about what you should be eating and how much of it you should be eating. So it is more nutritionally science-based than What the Health. So I did enjoy that aspect of it. Again, the same as the other documentary, he throws a lot of data at us, so it's really hard to keep up. But this data and these studies that he's talking about are really in their infancy. They are studies that only have small participant rates and have not been peer reviewed, and are just really in the beginning of the journey. So I don't feel like a lot of the studies they used are really valid. As much as they are clear that it's happened within those studies, I'm sure if you do it 10 times again, not all of those 10 times are they going to show the same thing. I absolutely loved this documentary, I did. It was so insightful into how you can thrive in a vegan diet, especially as an athlete. And it used amazing athletes within this to show that no matter what you're doing, you can thrive in a vegan diet. You can get all the nutrients, all the micros and the macros, and most importantly, the protein from a vegan diet. They even spoke about how you don't need to take protein supplements to thrive as an athlete. So it's really an amazing documentary to watch if you are considering going on a vegan diet but you don't know how it's going to impact your sport or your lifestyle. Now the next two I'm just going to put together, and they are about the environment. They are Cowspiracy and Seaspiracy. Cowspiracy was made first, I think, in 2014. Then What the Health was made in 2017. I rewatched Cowspiracy after I watched Seaspiracy, and that's what gave me the motivation and the idea of doing this video. And once you'd watched Cowspiracy and then What the Health, you realise how similar they are. They use the same language, they use the same studies, they use the same doctors, they use the same way of filming. It's pretty much the same documentary but with a few different focuses. Seaspiracy is the newest vegan documentary. I say vegan documentary, it doesn't even talk about veganism. You just kind of put the puzzle pieces together and then realise that you shouldn't be eating fish. And then in my eyes, what happens is when you cut out one thing, you start to go down a rabbit hole, and then you realise, oh, fish isn't sustainable, nor's meat, nor's dairy, maybe I should go vegan. That's in my head what's happening. But I've known more people go vegan from Cowspiracy, or at least reduce their meat and dairy consumption. And I have known so many people who have said they're no longer eating fish from Seaspiracy. Cowspiracy, Seaspiracy and What the Health are so similar. Seaspiracy was made by the people who made Cowspiracy, so it's kind of a sister thing. They are both all about the environmental impacts of the meat and dairy industry. There's a few things in there that I'm Again, I'm not a scientist, I'm not an environmental scientist. There's a few things in there that made me doubt the legitimacy of a lot of their studies. One of which was Seaspiracy saying about the oceans are going to be empty by the year 2048. That's not long away at all. I just don't believe it. So I looked into it, and that was said in a 2009 study, which has since been debunked. Editing Celsie here, so I actually said that wrong. The study was a 2006 study, which was debunked in a 2009 study. I'll link as many studies below in the description box. So yeah, back to the video. But I think that we will only start to listen when something absolutely disastrous happens. And when that disastrous things happen, it's probably going to be too late to be able to fix the problem. So if we use the scaremongering and the propaganda that these documentaries are using to get the information in people's head to stick in their head, then maybe that's what we've got to do. Maybe we've got to exaggerate what's happening to make people realise and to make people think, because it is happening, just not to the extent that these documentaries are making out. I did like in the Seaspiracy documentary and in the Cowspiracy documentary, but not as much as in the Seaspiracy. They don't really mention veganism, they don't tell you to cut things out of your diet. They've given you all the information so you can put it together and make your own decision. In Seaspiracy, for example, they do talk about the fact that there are communities and villages within developing countries like Africa that need to fish for their food. They are hunting for survival, which I don't have a problem with in a way. I feel like if you have the privilege and the chance to be vegan, you should absolutely be vegan. If you are fighting for survival and you need to eat meat because there's nothing else out there and you can't afford anything, then so be it. We need to live and we need to thrive. So these two documentaries have been done really well. They're really informative, they're really captivating, they get their audience, they give you all the information that they can give you, and then it's your choice to make that decision. Like I said, they have been exaggerated, there's no doubt about that, but there is some truth in there. The next two documentaries are about the welfare of the animals. So if you're going vegan for animals, these are the two documentaries that you should watch. I didn't rewatch these two. I couldn't rewatch them. I watched them a couple of years ago and they have traumatized me. Like they're both filmed with similar intentions, and that is to show the absolutely horrificness that goes on within the meat and dairy industry, and it executes it immensely, and it shows us exactly what the animals go through just for our taste buds. And at the end of the day, that's the only reason we are eating meat, is because we like the taste of it, not because it gives us anything else. They are both basically about filming inside slaughterhouses and inside farms and showing exactly what happens within the industry. And it's absolutely frightening, it's sickening, and it's mortifying that human beings are doing this to living beings. I don't understand the mentality of the people that can do this to animals. They are torturing and beating up animals that are defenseless and are voiceless, and they think it's okay and then think it's normal. So these two documentaries, to me, if you are vegan already for the animals, I personally wouldn't watch it, because it will really, if you care that much about the animals, it will really truly destroy your faith in humanity, and it will stick with you for a long time. Some of the scenes that I watched from those two are with me forever. But if you want to go vegan and you are not quite there yet, these are perfect. These will force you in the right direction. If you are vegan and you're struggling to stay vegan, again, these documentaries are an amazing way to make sure that you don't go off the right path that you are on now. Like, I literally cried. You will cry during these, but I think that if you eat meat, these two you should watch, because it shows the truth behind the industry, and it shows that yes, some cows are pasteurised cows and they live freely on the land, and then there are others that are caged. You don't know where your meat is coming from, you don't know which one is which. So if you don't know which one is which, just stay clear, because you could be eating an animal that was completely tortured for its whole life. Now, the final one about the animals is blackfish. This again is not for veganism. This is probably one of the most watched documentaries out of all of this. Vegans and non-vegans have watched this, and the aquaparks industry and SeaWorld and all the likes of them have seen a massive decline in people going to watch their shows, which is incredible. It shows the power of the media and power of documentaries and the power of people, because these aquaparks are dying out one by one and they will soon be gone. And if it can happen to aquaparks, it can happen to the animal agriculture industry as well. It shows the absolute horrors of behind the scenes of the aquaparks and what they do to the animals to get the animals, and then what they do to the animals when they're there, and how mentally destroying it is for those animals at the aquaparks. And it's claimed by the people who work there that they love the animals and that's why they're working there, but in reality they're really not. Like, what they do to the animals is not nice. So those are my personal favourite documentaries. You might have different views to me. You can watch all these documentaries, but you must do your own research after it as well. Don't just take the word of the documentaries. Look at the research that they are giving us. Do your own research and make the decision yourself. Don't just go on what they told you on the telly. You must always look into numbers and data and statistics that you have been given. And what I will say about this is I love every single one, and they have had a huge impact on me. They're the ones that turn me vegan after all. But there are inaccuracies with the data they are given. There are also similarities between all of them. They all use the same, 10 health professionals, all of which have got their own books, so they're also profiting from the documentaries, which again, I have no problem. If you're good at saving the animals and you want to make some money while you're doing it, go right ahead. I mean, they've got to make money somewhere. There's just a few things that you've got to be aware of and cautious of while you're watching them, but they are great documentaries and they are great to try and get as many people to go plant-based as possible. I've talked briefly about all of them, but I might do a review, a 10-minute review on each of them as well, to give you more details and more data and just an overview of them, so do be ready for them. So if you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you agreed with anything or disagreed with anything, please let me know in the comment box below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell. I have a lot of videos similar to this coming up. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all the comments that I get. And remember, one small change makes a massive difference. Bye guys.